If you're planning on getting a PlayStation 5 Pro, then there's some important things you should know in order to not only maximize your experience playing on the Pro, but also just easing that transition if you're upgrading from a base console. So let's start off with that. If you already have a standard console, then there's a few things to keep in mind when setting up the Pro and transferring over your data. During the setup process initially, you'll be asked about console sharing and offline play, if you already have that setting turned on with another PS5 console. It's the setting that allows all your digital software to be played offline or to be shared with other user accounts on that same console. Without this setting on, your console always needs to be connected online to launch games, and other users won't be able to play your games. In some cases, the Pro won't let you enable this on the setup screen, so it'll be a lot easier if you disable it on your standard console by going to Settings, User and Accounts, Other, Console Sharing and Offline Play. If you no longer have access to your older console, you can do this on PlayStation.com, where you can remotely deactivate all your devices. As for actually transferring over your data, there's a few ways to approach this, but the fastest way by far is if you have connected storage already. So for example, external drives for PS4 games or PS5 cold storage, that's plug and play on the new console. But also M.2 drives as well, that's right. You can just remove this from your old console, put it in the Pro, and all your games will be right there right away without formatting. So depending on what you have stored, it might be faster to move everything over to the M.2 drive ahead of time and just swap that right over. But if you do have a lot of console storage used up on top of your M.2 drive, then a direct system transfer is also a very quick method if you have your old console on hand. You'll see this prompt during setup, and if you connect both consoles with a LAN cable, then you can move over hundreds of gigabytes in about an hour usually. This is much slower if you do it over Wi-Fi, so definitely use a LAN cable, and it should also be pointed out that this is one of the only ways to transfer your capture gallery. Now yes, you can always save these to USB or auto-upload them to the PlayStation app, but if you want your captures, videos, and trophy screenshots to transfer over and be directly on your new console on the Pro, then you have to do the data transfer method, or you can also do a system backup and restore via an external drive. That's usually ideal if you're getting rid of your standard console before you bring home the Pro. Now there are a few other things to keep in mind when setting up the Pro, namely your welcome hub. So if you set this up a certain way on your old console, then you are going to have to do that again on the Pro. Same goes for any game list that you arranged in your game library, so you might want to take a picture on your phone or something, or just make a mental note of how you had them before so you can arrange these again on the Pro. Also be aware that the existing console covers sold for the Slim, while they do look very similar in size, they do not fit on the Pro. Technically, the bottom covers will clip in, including the disk drive cover, since the detachable drive that they sell separately can go on a Slim or a Pro, but the top covers do not fit. So if you bought a different color of covers for your Slim, those do not fit completely on the Pro. On the flip side, this does mean that if you already have a PS5 Slim with the disk drive, then you can buy a Pro and move over the disk drive and then swap the bottom panels, making your old PS5 Slim a digital-only model. Might be something to consider if you don't want to buy another disk drive, since you can basically just convert your outgoing console and then do whatever with it. Maybe that's keeping it in a different part of the house, or just selling it as a digital-only model. Another important thing to remember about the disk drive in particular, if you're looking to add that later, is that you need to use the longer horizontal feet if you keep your console in a horizontal orientation. The ones your Pro comes with are only for when the console has no drive connected, but when you buy the drive separately, it comes with new, longer separate feet that will keep the console more level, so just be aware of that. Now, something else that you don't have to worry about is a DualSense Edge with custom profiles, so if you do have this, then don't worry about it because the custom profiles stay on the controller, so they should show up when you connect the controller to the Pro. Something else to be mindful of is remote play. Whether it's from your phone or a PlayStation Portal, you have to remember to change your default console. And if you aren't already nicknaming your consoles, then this is something I personally always like doing just so I can easily tell which consoles are which. So you can do that in Settings, System Software, Console Information, and that way it's a lot easier to tell which console is which for remote play connections. Alright, now actually playing games on the Pro. One thing I would turn on right away under the screen and video settings is Enhance Image Quality for PS4 Games. This is going to apply a post-processing upscaler to a lot of PS4 games that you might be playing. If the game is displaying at 1080p resolution or lower, sometimes this filter can make a noticeable improvement and make the games look a lot sharper when playing on the Pro. Now, there are some limitations, obviously. The filter won't be on if the game you're playing is running at a resolution above 1080p, so that's going to be a lot of PS4 Pro software, and the filter won't apply to the PS4 versions of classic games from PS Plus Premium or PSVR 1 games. Also, the filter won't really make much of a difference if the game visually has a lot of film grain effect or maybe a lot of heavy anti-aliasing that will clash with the filter. It's not going to always look better, but certain elements on screen, like text, UI elements, or if the game is very colorful, high contrast, you can indeed see a very big noticeable difference. So more often than not, this filter is a bonus. There is at least one known game where the filter does break the experience, and that's Just Cause 3, so in that case you would turn the filter off and then the game is fine, but so far it would seem the filter is a bonus for most software and something you can just turn on and then forget about. As for regular PS5 games without a Pro patch, this is something where the Pro is always using the extra GPU power and minor CPU clock increase to improve those games. So ideally, the titles that would see the biggest benefit are the ones that have an unlocked frame rate mode. And thankfully, this generation has seen a lot of options for choosing performance, fidelity, or unlocked high frame rate modes. Some games have 40 FPS modes. There's so much out there now that it's hard to keep track of. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description showing you a running list of games that have a 120Hz option, and another list that tracks the performance modes in PS5 games. That way you can easily tell what games could see some big benefits when playing on the Pro, because you will absolutely see some games start hitting 120 frames per second much more easily, or games that will hold higher resolution targets if they're dynamic, and again, without a Pro patch. Now, when it comes to Pro-supported titles, that too is hard to keep track of, as we already have a lot of games getting a Pro patch. So I'll leave a link down below for another running list that is cataloging all the games out there that have a Pro patch so far and what the Pro patch is offering. It will also let you know if those games are better on the Pro or if they're experiencing issues, and you'll also be able to see if the game lets you choose the older modes or if you're stuck only playing on the updated Pro settings. It's an easy way to get a bird's eye view of what kind of enhancements you can experience and on what games. And that, for the most part, are the more pertinent items you need to know before you pick up your PlayStation 5 Pro. If you're looking for more insight into the PS5 experience, then check out my guide covering over 50 tips and tricks, which will dive into a lot more that we have not covered here. Other than that though, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. You take it easy.